Asher had entered a season of life he could not understand. Every morning he woke with intention, with discipline, with hope. Yet every path he tried to follow ended the same way: closed, blocked, or taken away before he could even reach it. He applied for jobs that seemed perfect for him, but each one slipped through his fingers without explanation. He tried building new friendships, but people drifted from him like shadows moving away from light. He started projects with excitement, only to watch them fall apart before they truly began. The more he tried, the more life resisted him. At first, Asher blamed himself. He wondered if he lacked skill or confidence or simply luck. But deep down, a quieter fear grew, the fear that he was being pushed out of the world he was trying to belong to. Meanwhile, everyone around him seemed to move forward freely. Friends celebrated new opportunities. Strangers found success without even trying. And Asher, despite all his effort, remained stuck between doors that would not open. One night, overwhelmed by disappointment, he whispered into the empty room, "Why does every door close for me?" He did not know it yet, but this question would be the first step toward his answer. The night after Asher asked his question, the silence in his room felt heavier than usual. It wasn't the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that makes the heart feel abandoned. He waited, hoping for a sign, a whisper, a feeling, anything that could tell him his life still had direction, but nothing came. The next morning, Asher carried that silence with him like an invisible weight. Every step felt slower. Every thought felt louder. He tried to shake it off, telling himself he was just tired. But the feeling lingered like a shadow that refused to leave. He watched people laughing at the marketplace, moving through life as if progress were natural. But for him, moving forward felt like climbing a hill made of glass. The harder he tried, the more it cut into him. Questions he had buried began to rise. Was he being punished? Was he forgotten? Had God turned away from him? At night, lying in bed, he stared at the ceiling as doubt tightened around his chest. "If there is a plan for me," he whispered, "why does it feel like I'm being pushed out of it?" The silence stayed, painful, unmoving, and yet quietly purposeful. One morning, after another restless night, Asher felt an urge he could not explain. A quiet thought pressed into his mind, a reminder of someone he had almost forgotten: Eldrin, an older man who lived at the edge of town, known not for grand speeches or miracles, but for the calm wisdom in his voice. People often sought him when life became too heavy to carry alone. Asher hesitated. He didn't want to seem weak, or desperate, or foolish. But his heart was exhausted, and his spirit felt worn thin. So he went. Eldrin's small home smelled of old books and warm tea. Before Asher could even knock, the door opened, as if Eldrin already knew he was coming. "You've been walking with a heavy heart," Eldrin said softly. "Come in." Asher sat down and, for the first time in months, allowed his emotions to rise. Words poured out of him, the failures, the closed doors, the loneliness, the silence. He spoke until he had nothing left to say. Eldrin listened without interrupting, his eyes steady and compassionate. When Asher finally fell quiet, Eldrin leaned back and said, "Asher, you believe these closed doors are rejection, but have you considered that they might be direction?" Asher blinked, confused. Direction? How could so much loss lead anywhere? He waited for the old man to explain. Eldrin rose from his chair and walked toward a wooden drawer near the window. Inside it were notes, letters, and pages he had collected over the years. He pulled out a folded sheet and handed it to Asher. "Look," he said. Asher unfolded the paper. Written on it were names and dates, the same opportunities he had once chased, the same paths he had begged God to open. Eldrin pointed to the first name. "That company you wanted so much? It shut down after a major scandal." His finger moved to the next. The group you thought you lost? They turned against each other not long after you drifted away. Another line. That project you tried to join? It ended in legal chaos. Asher felt a strange shiver run through him. Each door he had cried over had been a disaster waiting to happen. He looked up at Eldrin, breath uneven. So all those rejections, they saved me? Eldrin nodded. You saw disappointment, but God saw danger. You felt blocked, but you were being protected. Asher lowered his eyes, overwhelmed by the realization. He had spent months believing he was being pushed away from purpose, when in truth, he had been guided away from harm. The weight in his chest began to loosen, replaced by a quiet, trembling gratitude. In the days that followed, Asher began to see his life with new eyes. He no longer looked at closed doors with fear or frustration. Instead, he paused, breathed, and asked a different question. What are you protecting me from this time? For the first time in months, his heart felt lighter. Not because everything suddenly became easy, but because he finally understood the purpose behind the silence. He trusted the unseen hand that had been guiding him all along. Weeks later, without forcing anything, without chasing anything, an unexpected message arrived. A company he had never applied to had found his work and wanted to meet him. The invitation felt natural, unforced, like a door opening on its own. During the interview, the manager told him, "Something about your journey fits what we're looking for. It feels meant to be. Meant to be." The words settled into Asher's heart like a quiet confirmation. He realized then what Eldrin had meant. The right door never requires begging or pushing. The right door opens in its own time, in its own way, with a peace that feels unmistakably divine. And as Asher stepped into this new chapter, he carried one truth with him. Closed doors are not signs of abandonment. They are signs that God is saving you for something better and protecting you from what you cannot yet see.